Welcome to Mental Health in Sweat, a conversation we were never supposed to have, but must. This is where we talk openly about hyperhidrosis, body odor, anxiety, relationships, confidence, and the mental weight of living in a body you can't control. No shame, no silence, just truth, solutions, and community. This is Hyperhidrosis Awareness Kenya, and we're done whispering.
Anxiety doesn't just cause sweat. Sweat causes anxiety, and they trap each other. There is that fear of being judged. There is the fear of being noticed. There is the anticipatory anxiety before events, schoolwork, dates. Take 4. Anxiety doesn't just cause sweat. Sweat causes anxiety, and they trap each other. Hyperhidrosis is not an anxiety issue. Let me make it very clear, crystal 100% clear. Hyperhidrosis is not an anxiety issue. There are individuals out here who believe that hyperhidrosis is an anxiety issue. No, it's not. And anxiety doesn't just cause sweat. It's the sweat that causes anxiety. And that's why they trap each other. And in the process, there is the fear of being noticed. You don't want people to notice that you have sweaty hands, right? You don't want people to notice the sweat that is coming from your face, your craniofacial hyperhidrosis, the sweat from your scalp and face. You don't want people to notice that. I mean, craniofacial happens even when the weather is favorable or even during the cold months, during winter. So there is that fear of being noticed. You don't want people to notice your sweaty underarms. You don't want people to notice your body odor. You don't want people to notice your bromhidrosis. You're sweating and your sweat has a funk smell. You don't want people to notice that, right? You don't want people to notice sweat stains that are very visible on your shoes. Yes. I know we hardly don't talk about this, lakini ni ukweli. Ushawahi vaa All Stars canvas, ukasweat ama kiatu yoyote ya fabric na ukasweat na paka ina form sweat stains juu. Imagine yourself wearing shoes made of fabric, like your canvas, those Chuck Taylor's canvas that you like, and then you sweat and sweat stains, or the sweat is visible on those shoes. I have. That's why I can't have shoes made of material, and if I have only one pair. But it's a very, very different fabric. The way it's made is totally different. And it's of different color. And the color, even if I sweat, you won't be able to notice. However, even wearing leather shoes and you happen to sweat stains can form. I know some of you have those experiences, which you're free to share. Yeah, I encourage people to share. Then there is the fear of judgment. You don't want people to judge you because you cannot hide your sweat. When people see it, the first thing that goes to their minds is that you have hygiene issues. Even before they come closer to you, you have hygiene issues. There is that fear of judgment. And then there is anticipatory anxiety, also known as situational anxiety. This anticipatory anxiety usually occurs before events. So you have an event and you're headlining the event, or you're the organizer. You're the one who's officiating. You're the one who's, in charge of it. When that anxiety kicks in, you're going to sweat. So there is anticipatory anxiety before school, anticipatory anxiety before work, dates, social anxiety. You going to the immigration department to take your ID or passport, especially when they're doing the biometric capture. Situational anxiety affects people with hyperhidrosis and other sweat-related issues. The keyword is situational anxiety, not clinical anxiety. We are not talking about anxiety disorders such as schizophrenia and the rest. Because this topic of anxiety, when we talk about anxiety, we have to be specific. We are talking about situational anxiety, and situational anxiety can be managed and controlled. Situational anxiety happens even when you're using public service vehicles. When you're using a matatu, unaingia kwa matatu, umeketi mahali hakuna, you don't have access to the window, you can't even open the window, or the person who's seated next to you doesn't want to open. Typically happens in the morning. You're in a matatu where people have closed all the windows and they don't want to open. That is going to trigger that anxiety. Your sweat is going to trigger your anxiety because now you're anxious and you'll start sweating. We are not talking about clinical anxiety such as schizophrenia or some form of OCDs. We are not talking about such, because now once you start going to that level of clinical anxiety, that is different. That has nothing to do with sweat. That is totally different. And this is where now I talk, and this is where now I advise, and I'm always against self-medication, because most of you are even taking anxiety medication. You're consulting the wrong medical practitioners. If any doctor out there has never managed hyperhidrosis cases, what do you think they are going to do? Or what do you think will happen to you? Severe case of misdiagnosis. They are going to treat your sweat issue as an anxiety issue, which they are going to give you anxiety medication. So instead of even solving your issue, they end up creating problems that never existed. So it's always good to understand situational anxiety and clinical anxiety. But in general, hyperhidrosis is not an anxiety issue. So what's the mental health impact? Panic symptoms. So what's the mental health impact? Panic symptoms, avoidance, overthinking every interaction. I know. And it's even more than this. But these three, they sum up everything. Panic symptoms, avoidance, overthinking every interaction. So what are some of the coping tools? Breathing plus grounding. Separating symptoms from identity. Very important. So what are the symptoms? What is triggering your sweat? What is this that is triggering your sweat? What are these triggers? What are some of these triggers? Identify. Usually, what do I say? You have a column. One side, you have things which are beyond your control and things which are under your control. Always focus your energy on what is under your control. What's beyond your control is not for you to even think or stress about. Treating sweat medically to reduce anxiety load. Get this point. Treating sweat, not anxiety. Treating sweat medically to reduce anxiety. You know what happens when, let me pick a case of excessive pulmonary hyperhidrosis, the sweat from the hands, right? If I have an individual and they and we happen to introduce them to antiophoresis machine treatment. And they start their sessions, they follow the instructions, the way the instructions have been laid for them to see those good results. And if they are consistent in their sessions and they start seeing the results, what do you think tend to happen? They start having a positive outlook. And when that positive outlook, when they start exhibiting that positive outlook, what are the odds or the chances of them having to experience that anxiety or becoming, overthinking every situation? It ends, because now for the first time in their lives, they're like, so there is a treatment solution for my sweat. You see, the focus is on the sweat, not anxiety. It's on the sweat, because the sweat is the one that causes anxiety. Now they don't have to be anxious. They can stretch their hands and handshake everyone. They can even handshake domestic animals if they have to. Why? Because of the positive outlook. So, you think of some of other coping mechanisms or coping tools which you can incorporate when it comes to what? Anxiety. But the focus here is on situational anxiety. Clinical anxiety is way different. And if you struggle with clinical anxiety or anxiety disorders, let me just be more direct. Anxiety disorder. If you have any of the anxiety disorders, please consult a doctor. Let them examine you so that they can conclude which anxiety disorder you have. You cannot positive think your way out of a medical condition. And here's the truth, the founder truth. You cannot positive think your way out of a medical condition. As I conclude, treat the body, support the mind. Both matter.
If this episode spoke to you, know this: you are not broken, you are not alone, and help exists. Sweat disorders affect the body, but they don't define your worth. Follow Hyperhidrosis Awareness Kenya, share this conversation, and reach out when you need support. We see you, we hear you, and this journey doesn't end here.